have you all join our information session about the Build Fellowship and alternate pathways to the H-1B lottery. Jeff and I have been doing these information sessions for attorneys, for foreign nationals, for companies for the last 5.5 years since we started Open Avenues Foundation together. Jeff is an attorney, has been for more than 3 decades, and I am his daughter. I grew up in the immigration world. This is something that has always been close to both of our hearts in terms of creating innovative pathways for foreign talent to be able to stay and build careers here. I always tell a story about the fact that Jeff would talk about immigration at the dinner table every single night and would talk about his clients and the realities and the challenges that they faced that so many of you on this call today are so acutely aware of when you are trying to navigate pathways for very deserving, talented individuals. But there are severe roadblocks that exist in this landscape today. And there are many innovative attorneys who are willing to think creatively about ways to build pathways that ensure that you give your clients the best chance at being able to stay and thrive and build their own companies or stay at corporations and growing startups. And so we're here today to talk about one of those pathways that exists. And we're going to start with Jeff discussing the cap-exempt H-1B. And he's going to talk about the legal framework behind it, the history of developing this unique model of concurrent employment within the cap-exempt H-1B space. And then we'll dive into the Build Fellowship model, and I'll walk everybody through the nonprofit affiliated with the university model we've developed over time and the program that we run and the expansion that we're now embarking on. So Jeff, if you're there, I will turn it over to you to introduce yourself. And if you can just give an intro, then we'll dive in.
Thanks, Danielle. I am here, and I apologize. I can't seem to get my video on, but I'm here. So I'm Jeff Goldman. I've been practicing immigration law for almost 30 years on the employment side. And I've been the head of 2 of the country's immigration practices at 2 of the country's largest law firms. And now for the last 13 years, have my own practice based in Boston. And I find that my personal practice focuses on venture-backed startups and creative solutions for people who need them. So that's my background, and you'll hear a little bit more as we go on about how it is I happen to get involved with cap-exempt H-1B visas. But as you all know, the cap of 85,000 H-1Bs presents incredible problems for businesses every day. And one of the things I want to highlight today is the solution by using a cap-exempt H-1B. Most of you know that Congress has deemed 4 different organizations to be exempt from the annual cap of 85,000. And these 4 organizations are known as H-1B cap-exempt organizations: universities, government research organizations, nonprofit research organizations, and nonprofits affiliated with the university. And these 4 can file an H-1B petition any time of the year without winning the lottery or even entering the lottery. Because the regulations permit concurrent H-1B employment, which means having more than one H-1B at a time and working in H-1B status for 2 different organizations at a time, it is possible that after a cap-exempt H-1B organization files a cap-exempt H-1B petition and it's approved by USCIS, and the foreign national is inside the US working for the cap-exempt organization in H-1B status, any US employer may then file a concurrent H-1B petition. I think most people on the call have been well aware that this is true when the initial H-1B was earned by winning the lottery. But it's equally true if the foreign national never won the lottery and the initial H-1B is a cap exempt. any US employer, from Google to a startup company, may file a concurrent cap exempt. So that means it's possible for a university to hire a foreign national part-time H-1B. Let's say they're a teaching assistant for a college course, and they get that foreign national H-1B status for the university. Any company, including a startup company, including the foreign national's own startup company, can concurrently file an H-1B petition. So back in 2014, I was regularly doing this if my client happened to know a university that would hire the foreign national part-time. And many of my tech clients did know a university. They all would say, oh, I have deep connections at Stanford, deep connections at Harvard. I can get this done. Of course, they couldn't get it done because the major US universities simply don't jump and hire an H-1B just for anybody. But the smaller colleges were community colleges. And so this is what I was doing. And then in 2014, I was chatting with one of the venture capitalists in Boston about a better solution. What can we do on a bigger scale when a tech company runs into the problem that their star employee has lost the lottery 3 years in a row and is on his or her way out of the country because they don't qualify for O1. There is no other solution. And I mentioned that, well, we could get them a cap-exempt H-1B if the tech company knows a university that will first sponsor them for a part-time cap-exempt H-1B. And the venture capitalist said to me, well, what if we could get the University of Massachusetts to always be that university that would hire talented foreign nationals from Massachusetts companies? And I said, that would be amazing. That would be like a real solution. So we put it together and we wrote a white paper on the solution, and we launched what was then and still today known as the Massachusetts Global Entrepreneur in Residence Program. Immediately, it became a huge hit with tech companies in Massachusetts looking for a solution. And within a year of founding it, we already had, I think, 15 to 18 approvals. Everything was going perfectly. UMass was hiring these talented people for 5 hours a week to be a teaching assistant. Tech companies would immediately piggyback and file their own cap-exempt H-1B and the concurrent H-1B. And the foreign national is now legally working for both organizations. Quickly, people from California, Colorado, and New York were calling us. How can we do the same thing in their state? And I spent a lot of time being an advisor to different groups in those states. Some were government groups, some were entrepreneurs, and I helped launch programs in other states. And we started a national organization called the Global EIR. This program still exists today. It's now based in Detroit, and it's strong and doing amazing things for universities across the country who want to start their own global EIR program. By 2018, I personally had become a little disillusioned by the program because all of the universities who were starting EIR programs, including UMass, were limiting this to 10 to 15 per year. And the reason was that was all they needed. They didn't need any more part-time teaching assistants. So they weren't going to hire any more than 10 or 15. But of course, we all know the demand way exceeds this. So thinking again about how else we could solve the problem, I recognize that it's not just universities, it's also nonprofits that are affiliated with universities. Right around the same time, I actually started a nonprofit with my wife. We started it in the summer of 2018 because families were being separated at the border. Mothers were losing track of children. It was a complete mess, as most of you remember. And we started a nonprofit to try to help these families with some of the problems they were having. Shortly after we started, Danielle, after many years of debating immigration issues with our family, within our family, said, I want to come direct this nonprofit. And once Danielle arrived, we realized that this nonprofit could do far more than just raising money and giving them to families who were trying to be reunited. We could make a real impact if we became a cap-exempt organization. So Danielle took the nonprofit that my wife and I started. She renamed it Open Avenues Foundation. Danielle, within a year, had reached affiliation agreements with 12 universities, had designed the programming where foreign nationals would be hired by Open Avenues and put to work for 5 hours a week in a specialty occupation. And she'll tell you more about what the foreign nationals have been doing. And we were getting approvals. And the tech companies who wanted the concurrent H-1B, they were getting approvals. And the program went extremely well for many years. And by 2022, it was so successful that Danielle and others wanted to take this into a new stage where the Build Fellowship would now be an overall organization working with many nonprofits, such as Open Avenues Foundation, and helping nonprofits across the country become cap-exempt organizations affiliated with universities that could take local entrepreneurs, local tech companies, and do this, model them after the Open Avenues success. And already the Build Fellowship is taking great strides in doing just that. A couple of important points about concurrent cap-exempt H-1B compliance. Like all H-1Bs, all the fellows hired by either Open Avenues Foundation or another nonprofit working through Build Fellowship are hiring these fellows in a specialty occupation. If they have a degree in mechanical engineer, we put them to work as a mechanical engineer, leading an experiential learning opportunity for college students in mechanical engineering. All of them must have a specialty occupation. Fellows must be paid the higher of the fair wage or the actual wage, both with the part-time cap-exempt employer, either Open Avenues or another nonprofit through the Build Fellowship, and the concurrent full-time employer. And that is a strict rule of the law. It's a strict rule of the Build Fellowship program. Fellows must remain employed by the cap-exempt employer in order to maintain proper status. As you all, I think you all know, once a concurrent employer gets their approved H-1B, they will lose it if the foreign national stops working for the cap-exempt employer. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You must always remain employed by a cap-exempt employer, and then the concurrent employer may have their H-1B. The final rule for compliance that is an absolute must: foreign nationals cannot pay for their own fellowship, which includes the H-1B petition filed by the cap-exempt organization. The foreign national cannot pay the government filing fees, and they cannot pay the legal fees. And it's also true for the concurrent employer. The foreign national may not pay for anything to do with the H-1B for the concurrent employer.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. So I am going to build off of, no pun intended, I'm going to build off of what Jeff has talked about and tell you more about the Build Fellowship and the history of Open Avenues Foundation a little bit more, because this is really what we've been doing for 5 years. And as Jeff said, we wanted to take the compliance structures and the systems that we've built so diligently out of Open Avenues Foundation and ensure that we're able to scale at other nonprofits and in other states and regions across the United States. And so what we have is a network of fellowship programs that run out of nonprofits that are affiliated with universities. The nonprofits are the ones launching Build Fellowship programs and Build Fellowship part-time employment positions. Those Build Fellows go and work and add value to the university partners through the education programming that we run. Companies are then able to nominate fellows to retain them. typically what we see are companies who have individuals who have OPT expiring, who have individuals abroad that they want to bring here. They're working as contractors. We see J1s expiring. We see folks that have a 50% chance for an O1 and would prefer a more certain route. And because of our approval rates, we see many individuals choosing the cap-exempt H-1B pathway over an O1. So the program itself, the Build Fellowship that has run out of Open Avenues Foundation, is now expanding to a national network of nonprofits. And a little bit, one level deeper, is the fellows are hired for the fellowship positions in their field, in their specialty field. They work 5 to 8 hours per week for a partner nonprofit that is affiliated with a university. That 5 to 8 hours was part of Jeff's initial framework that was vetted with USCIS back when he built the GEIR program. And fellows work then, once approved, full-time for their company and cap-exempt H-1B status as long as they stay in the fellowship. We file 3-year cap-exempt H-1B visas. There's a minimum of 6 months because individuals might leave the program after they win the lottery. Perhaps they get an EAD that they've been waiting for in a green card process, but there is that ability to stay in the program for the 3 years and maintain this dual employment. Build fellowships that we have launched in 2024. So of course we have Open Avenues Foundation that is affiliated with 12 colleges and universities around the United States. You can see Vanderbilt, George Washington, Queens College in New York, Illinois Institute of Technology, University of North Florida. We're really all over the country at this point, and all of our fellows work remotely all over the United States. We're in about 22 states right now. And we have 175 fellows in the program. They all mostly come from unique companies that have nominated a candidate for this program. We see companies nominate multiple candidates, and we're working with a few corporations now on creating cohorts because they have so many individuals that they're putting into the lottery. But for the most part, we really are seeing, specific high performers be nominated for our fellowship. At Open Avenues Foundation. Penn West is a new innovation district out of Washington, D.C., and we're launching this month a new George Washington Penn West Build Fellowship that will be targeted at founders. They're having an international soft landing program to try to attract founders to the D.C. area. And then we have launched a new Build Fellowship out of Dream Venture Labs in Boston in collaboration with Mass Bay Community College and Franklin Cummings Tech. These are, this will have more of a tech biotech focus, but again, will be open to both founders and mid to senior level employees. That's the same as Open Avenues Foundation today. And the location will be Boston preferred, but not required. So we're really excited with Penn West and Dream Venture Labs to continue to expand the Build Fellowship outside of Open Avenues Foundation. And of course, if any of you on the call have ideas of nonprofits or schools that are interested in perhaps getting involved here, we're on a mission to continue to build out these new Build Fellowships throughout the year and the next few years. Since 2019, since Open Avenues Foundation really finished our pilot program where we launched, just a couple of fellowship opportunities, we've had 175 Build Fellows sponsored in cap-exempt H-1Bs with a 99% approval rate. We've had 2 denials. One was refiled. The other was a practitioner, and we couldn't prove that they were doing remote work. So we decided not to refile, but it was a good lesson learned. We have had 14 college and university partners, and through this program, we've trained more than 1,000 students at our partner schools. And 98% of the students who participate in programs with our fellows say they were more prepared for their jobs after completing the project. So we're really proud of that. I hope you can all see and will see as we continue to go through this presentation that when we built Open Avenues Foundation and as we build these new build fellowship programs across the country, we are laser focused on compliance, which means that the actual integrity of the program and the education work that our fellows lead for 5 to 8 hours per week is very important and paramount to the success of this organization and its future growth. So to be eligible for one of these fellowships, you have to be approved, you have to be able to get an H-1B visa, right? So you need a minimum of a bachelor's degree or equivalent work experience. Ideally, the full-time employer that is concurrently going to sponsor a visa has a good case to be made as well, right? It's not just that you have a bachelor's degree, it's aligned with the job that they're doing full-time. We want to see 2 years of work experience in a related field. That can include OPT, because these individuals are going to be getting up in front of students and leading projects and acting as industry experts. And that's very important that they have that work experience. We're looking for individuals who are either have experience in or a deep interest in leading this mentorship and working with students, in these projects that we launch. And very important, because Jeff said the individual is not paying for this fellowship program, you must have a benefactor that's going to pay for it. Most times, this is the company. All our company partners that want to retain a foreign national pay for the fellowship program. The timeline and what to expect. So the evaluation from the Build Fellowship, once you nominate a client or a company nominates an employee, is 2 to 3 weeks. We go through a company nomination, consultation, we get a contract signed, and then it takes 6 to 8 weeks for us to put together the documents, file, and get an approval if there's no request for evidence on a cap-exempt H-1B. We've seen very low request for evidence rates. At one point, it was about 15%. I think it's lower right now. We really, after 5 years, know exactly what to put in front of USCIS, and we have not been questioned about the legitimacy of our cap-exempt status since our first petitions back in 2019. So they're usually about specialty occupation, which is the norm for most of the visas that you're filing. Once an individual is approved for our H-1B, they start employment as soon as we receive the approval notice in the mail. And as soon as we get the physical copy, we send to you so that you can file the concurrent H-1B on behalf of your client. Because the way that this all works is that while we're filing the cap-exempt H-1Bs for the fellows that are nominated to our program, you all, as the attorneys representing your clients, are filing the concurrent cap-exempt H-1B immediately after our approval is received. And as soon as you file your petition, because of H-1B portability, the individual is able to start for the company. So that's really exciting that the speed of that is legitimate. You can, is very fast, and you are able to decide whether you want to file with premium processing or not. Either way, the individual can begin working. I want to just show you a little bit more clarity in terms of what the individuals are doing for 5 hours per week. So our individuals, our Build Fellows, are leading project-based training and skills development within their field. So again, mechanical engineers working as mechanical engineers, software developers working as software development fellows, and they lead what we call build projects. So you can see our fellows are here, and you can browse, students can browse the projects. They can sign up for the projects that are led each week with the fellow, and each of these stages of the build project, students can sign up for, book time, and interact with our fellows in a legitimate way. The students, have logins. They're able to continue to track their progress on these projects, and we are able to see time that each of our fellows are spending working with students and how, which is really important. If in case of an RFE, for our compliance, we need to be able to send legitimate information to USCIS if needed about the work that our fellows are doing. And we have all of that tracked on the back end.
Danielle, where do you find the students?
So the students come from our partner colleges and universities. So we have relationships with all of our colleges and universities. to be able to launch these projects for their students. And our whole education team is very busy, not just getting these projects off the ground, monitoring the student experiences, but also getting students engaged in the projects from our partner schools. So these are a few more examples. You can see these are technical projects that our fellows are scoping and leading within their field. And you can see these are the companies that nominate fellows and that have fellows in the program. So CRISPR and Spark Capital is a variety of industries here. Just on this page, you can see biotech and finance and et cetera, et cetera. It really goes on and on. We work within a wide variety of specialty fields. And I think that one of the really cool pieces of our fellowship program, if you're nominating clients, is that it's not only a solution for individuals to get a visa, but it's also an amazing experience for leadership development and for pipeline development. Our fellows are connecting to students and training them for jobs. We've had many companies hire students from our partner schools who have worked on projects with fellows. And so when I talk to one of your clients, and I'm happy to always join a conversation, or my teams will join conversations with you and clients to describe this program, what we talk about is a whole pipeline development initiative. I mean, this is not just about keeping this one individual. It's also about building up this pipeline of students who are getting experience working on these types of technical projects. So financial commitment is really important, right? It takes a lot to run an organization like this, and these projects and programs that we run at our partner schools. So we charge companies for our fellowship or benefactors that are supporting a fellow through this fellowship program. We have a one-time fee of $15,000 to $18,000. And then there's a monthly fee of $1,300 for as long as someone is in the program. That's how we run our ongoing operational costs of the education programming. The last piece, well, I'll actually just say part of that one-time fee is the legal costs, premium processing, government filing fees, and any additional fees for H-1B dependency that Open Avenues Foundation has. This is not a problem with our new nonprofits, but certainly it's an extra $4,000 for any petition Open Avenues files. You can all appreciate that. So costs are high, and we're working to make this work for folks. And this is what we are charging in companies. This is not what it costs to recruit a new individual and the cost of losing key talent. So we've seen that, we've proven that over the last 5 years. So sticker shock might be there for some, but for others, everyone, for folks who really know what it costs to replace someone, they understand these prices are doable. The salary share is a very important component of our program. A salary share enables us to stay compliant regarding paying the fair wage to an individual, a fellow in our program. This is not a fee for a company. This is part of the total compensation that a company offers. So if I'll use Amazon, for example, if Amazon hires a software developer and offers $100,000 to that software developer, that is still what will be paid to the foreign national, but 5 hours per week of that total 100,000 will be actually used for the 5 hours per week of the fellowship. That will be paid directly through Open Avenues or through the Dream Venture Labs to the foreign national for their time that they're working in the Build Fellowship. And the remainder of that 100,000 will be paid directly to the employee. Now, of course, we have to think of actual wage, and we look at all of our company partners to make sure that they are not just paying above the fair prevailing wage, but that we're meeting the actual wage. And there's strategies, sponsoring for 30 to 40 hours per week. There are things we've seen done, but for the most part, salaries are high enough that when we reduce it by 5 hours per week of compensation that's needed to pay for the fellowship, the remainder is still above the fair wage and in range with the actual wage. So this has been completely doable for the last 3 years. It's been 5.5 years that we've been running the program. And, we're here to support your clients and to partner with you to make this an avenue that you are able to offer for folks that don't win the lottery. So Sophie Alcorn, some of you may know her name. She's been a partner for years. We have worked with more than 15 of her clients over the last few years, probably 20 to 25 at this point, who need a solution urgently. She says in her quote that she sends a lot of folks to us when they aren't qualified yet for an O1 or they can't wait for the next H-1B lottery. And she files the concurrent visas. And, we work very closely with our law firm partners to make sure we're in step throughout the process. So our immigration team will communicate about, our LCA and the process along the way to make sure that you are ready to file your concurrent petition when ours is approved. Bob Weber, he's in Minnesota, and he has had a very similar experience where, he has referred many folks to us and been able to do the concurrent petition for his clients. So this is the Build Fellowship. I would love to open it up to questions from folks. And I will drop in the nomination link or Alessandra, maybe you could drop in the nomination link for us here to the chat, which is, the way that you can send this link to your clients. You can nominate people directly that you think would be interested in learning more, because when you nominate someone for the program, we take them through a journey of getting information about the program in general. So this is a way for you or your associates to and colleagues to be able to give candidates access to more information about this. Great. So I see a question from someone about the costs. We did discuss that. If there's any other questions about costs, feel free to put them in the chat. I see another question that asks, does the Build Fellowship advise companies about compliance concerns around the wage obligations? I'm not completely sold on that piece. Totally fair. And Jeff and I do definitely, we have our calculators and our ways of navigating this to ensure that everyone is compliant within this model. So yes, absolutely. We would never embark on a partnership with a company unless we were sure that both petitions were compliant regarding wage. And if not, we don't do it. We won't partner with a company that's not paying above the fair wage or where the actual wage doesn't work out. Because that is not, that's not within our framework, and we're a compliance first organization. Jeff, do you want to answer if a DACA recipient can apply for this?
Sure. A DACA recipient absolutely can apply, but a DACA recipient cannot change status within the United States. But they can take an H-1B approval. They can get advanced parole under DACA and depart the United States and get an H-1B visa at a consulate outside the US and re-enter in H-1B status. But that would be the only way to do it, since a DACA status person, it's not a non-immigrant status where you can change status to H-1B.
What if an applicant does not have experience mentoring or working with students? So we've had, many individuals apply that don't have that experience in their past in a tangible way. But if someone has, worked with peers in a management capacity, or, they have been able to demonstrate through, we have a application that they fill out, and part of that is a video. If we think they're a good communicator, if we think they have enough experience in their field, that they have something to offer to students, we will accept them into the program. Typically, it's a plus if they have that mentorship experience, but if not, we still will consider them. Any other questions?
Can I just jump back in? I'm thinking again about that question, can a DACA recipient apply for this? Actually, I did speak with one company who had a DACA recipient, and what they decided to do was not get advanced parole. They said they would rather depart the US and give up DACA, knowing that they were going to get an H-1B visa and come back and be in H-1B status. And they gave up their DACA. So that is also possible without waiting for the advanced parole. Of course, even if you get advanced parole, if you get the H-1B visa and enter the US in H-1B status, you've effectively given up the DACA, whether or not you had advanced parole. You cannot be DACA and H-1B at the same time. I guess the safety net of getting advanced parole would be if you were for some odd reason denied the H-1B visa, you would be able to return to DACA status using your advanced parole.
Great. Any other questions? I don't see any more in the chat. Is the concurrent filing also exempt? Jeff, do you want to take that?
Yes. It's exempt in the fact that you don't need to win the lottery. But of course, it's not being petitioned by one of the 4 cap-exempt organizations. But it is exempt from winning the lottery. On the form I-129 data form, the question is, why are you exempt from winning the lottery? And one of the choices is because the foreign national is already in H-1B status. And of course, another choice on the Form I-129 is this a new petition or is it a concurrent petition? And you would check the box concurrent petition. So it is exempt, even though it's not one of the 4 exempt organizations. And clearly, getting this concurrent H-1B does not mean you can quickly jump out of cap-exempt and into a regular H-1B without winning the lottery. It's not true. You must be concurrently employed by a cap-exempt organization.
The next question, I think, was from someone who's personally looking for this for themselves. But the question is, can you move to the United States on a cap-exempt H-1B and get concurrent H-1B sponsorship later on? Or do you get concurrent sponsorship and then move? It's a good question, because what has to happen for anyone that is applying for consular processing is that individuals must enter the United States on a cap-exempt H-1B through the fellowship, get that visa stamp on their passport for the 5 to 8 hour per week employment. And then once arriving in the United States and starting first day of work, that's when a law firm can file a concurrent cap-exempt H-1B. But at the consulate, it's very important to show both offer letters from the concurrent employer and for the fellowship, because if not, then you're showing a consular officer that there's only 5 to 8 hours per week of employment. It's much stronger to show that there's enough work that you'll be able to sustain yourself in the United States.
That said, we have had dozens of fellows get an H-1B visa based only on the Open Avenues approval. And either the consular officers have never asked, how are you going to survive on salary for only 5 hours a week? Or they do ask, and the fellow has stated, good question. As soon as I get to the United States, I am going to have a concurrent H-1B filed for me by this company. Here's my offer letter. And in almost every case, the consular officer has said, okay, and given them the H-1B, and they enter the US, and then the concurrent employer files their H-1B petition.
The next question is, will the fellowship continue even if the individual is laid off by a concurrent employer? This is an excellent question, given the volatile economic atmosphere that we find ourselves in, right? This is, over the last couple of years, this has been a very relevant question with big tech layoffs. We did see a few of our fellows, specifically in biotech, actually get laid off in the last couple of years. We have a policy that will put individuals on an unpaid leave of absence while they search for another job. That's a limited unpaid leave for 3 to 6 months. But really what we're looking at is again, maintaining compliance. If really we want individuals part of our program and working, that's our mandate. But we want to give also some leeway for individuals to find another employer that will pay the program fees for the fellowship. Anything else? Give another couple seconds.
Actually, Danielle, there was
Yes.
there's an important question that has not been asked, but I do want to bring it up.
Yes.
And that is the legality of the sponsor company who's sponsoring a fellowship, the legality of them paying, billed the initial fees that will be used to pay for the initial H-1B petition filed by the nonprofit that's affiliated with the university. This is completely in compliance with the law. As most people on this call know, the Department of Labor has a regulation that clearly states the foreign national employee may not pay any fee, but it has no prohibition of any third party paying that fee. And the tech company who wants to be the concurrent employer can be that third party who is paying the fees for the nonprofit's H-1B petition. So that is in complete compliance.
Great. Okay, the last piece, Jeff, this is a question for you on unpaid leave. Please clarify unpaid leave scenario and its legality in the event that the employee is laid off by the concurrent employer and is no longer willing to support the costs of the program.
Well, as you know, if the employee is working, he or she must be paid the fair wage for the job. It is also part of the regulations that say an H-1B employee can take a leave of absence if it's requested for the benefit of the employee. Of course, an employer, such as Open Avenues Foundation, cannot demand that the employee take an unpaid leave. But in the case where the concurrent employer has let the foreign national go, and we don't have the concurrent employer to pay the ongoing wage share, salary split, and there's no salary to be paid, the employee can say at their request, rather than Open Avenues withdrawing their H-1B petition, can we keep the H-1B petition in place, but I want to take an unpaid leave because I want to spend my full-time job hunting to get a full-time employer. And then I'll get a new full-time employer and make sure that employer will agree to pay the salary share, and then we're good. So I see nothing wrong, nothing illegal about an H-1B employee requesting a short-term leave. We made up our mind that that will be up to 6 months.
And I will say that we offer the same policies to our fellows that we offer to any employee. So all of the employees at Open Avenues Foundation, at Dream Venture Labs, at Penn West are eligible for a leave of absence. And so, if someone requests that leave, we are obliged by our standards and our handbook to give that leave to them. And so we just maintain the consistency for all employees. So they have the ability to request that leave of absence if they don't want it. We've had fellows that get laid off and go home. We've had that happen to a fellow in the last couple of years. It's not often that fellows get laid off in general. They're very valued employees by their company, but startups fail, and this is a reality. And For the most part, we've had a couple of fellows go on unpaid leave. We're talking out of 175 fellows, we've had a few go on this unpaid leave, and two leave the country completely. So this is the policy that we have for staff in general. Let me see if I have anything else. Where does the 6-month time period come from? That's what Open Avenues Foundation sets for all employees. So we kept it standardized across that's what we've had as an organization. So, any organization can determine their own unpaid leave of absence policy, and whatever that policy is for staff is what is applied to fellows who are also staff.
There's a question about where is the regulation or USCIS policy memo regarding unpaid leave? Excellent question. I don't know the answer. I have it in about 20 places in my computer, but Jeff Feinblum, I'm going to reach out to you and send you that regulation or policy memo where USCIS says it is okay for an employee to request an unpaid leave.
Great. Can an employee start their own company and file for themselves for the concurrent filing? It's a great question. Jeff, do you want to take this one?
Yes. As I think you all know, USCIS has made it very clear that a foreign national entrepreneur can start her own company and own 100% of her company, and the company may still sponsor that foreign national for an H-1B, as long as there is a valid employer-employee relationship. And they've also announced through a policy memo that came out in May of 2023 that confirmed a policy change from 2020 that to prove there is a valid employer-employee relationship, the only thing that's required is that if the company is a corporation, the bylaws must make it clear that the company, not the founder, not the foreign national who started the company, but the company must control either the hiring, firing, or the day-to-day work of employees. And if it's an LLC, it's not called the bylaws, it's called the operating agreement. The operating agreement must make it clear that it's the company that controls the hiring, firing, or day-to-day employment of the employees. And if that's what either the bylaws or the operating agreement state, then you have a valid employer-employee relationship. So yes, it is possible for an employee to start her own company and be the concurrent employer.
And we have many founders in our program. We're actually doing an event in Boston tomorrow at one of the companies that their founder is one of the fellows in our program, and we're doing an information session live at their company. They have about 20 employees. It's really exciting that we've been able to help him stay and build this and hire Americans into his company, right? It's a really great story, and we're excited to showcase it tomorrow. Jeffrey found the regulation, which is exciting, and we'll just confirm that, Jeffrey, but that's great. Thank you for sharing. Anything else from anybody before we hop? Great. Well, I really appreciate, and Jeff really appreciates your time here. We will send this recording out to folks who joined today and who registered and couldn't make it. And we appreciate your attention, your questions. This obviously is something unique and innovative, but we have been, we've crossed T's and dotted I's year over year and shown the success of this. We're really excited for the growth that is to come, and we hope to grow alongside all of you. So if anyone here has ideas for if you're practicing in an area where we don't have a Build Fellowship located yet, and you're interested in being a partner in launching a Build Fellowship, please reach out to me. I'm going to put my email. It's Danielle@buildfellowship.com. And we can get in touch and chat more about the program. I also dropped in 2 links. One is the nomination link that you can send around to folks who are interested in either nominating themselves, or you want to nominate them, or their company wants to nominate them for the Build Fellowship. The second is just more information for law firms about how to engage with open avenues or with any of the Build Fellowships that exist in our network today. So thank you all, and I hope you have a great evening. Take care.